Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we're joined by Alix from Gritchie Brewing Company, where they have perhaps the most beautiful brewery in the world. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. Today, we have the lovely Alix with us, who's currently at Gritchie. Hello, Alix. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's been a long day. Brewed some beer, got home, had some more beer.
Have some more beer.
Friday, isn't it?
That is the way of things, isn't it?
The best kind of day.
Yeah, the best. That is the best kind of day. Please let us know who you are, why you're here, where you're from. Why are we talking to you today?
I don't know why you're talking to me today. I'm Alix. I'm the head brewer of Gritchie Brewing Company in kind of Shaftesbury area. It's like Dorset, Wiltshire border. We are owned by the Guy Richie, hence our very imaginative name. The brewery is on his estate. We brew currently about 3,000 hectolitres per year. We have the capacity to go up to about 9,000, which we're in the process of doing.
Nice.
And yeah, so we produce a lot of traditional cask ale because of our location and Guy's love of traditional pub culture. So we have a lot of our core range is cask, which we supply and deliver ourselves to breweries in the local area around us. And then we also produce keg products, and this year we're expanding our kind of more, in inverted commas, craftier range of products. We had a lot of 4% kind of different variations on ales when I first started, so we're kind of going into more of the craftier stuff. And that we also own a pub in London called Law of the Land in Fitzrovia, just at the bottom of the BT Tower, and they do amazing food. Apparently it's Rita Ora's favourite place for a roast dinner in London.
Oh.
So the roast dinner is very, very good. But they take all of our products as well. So, and the kind of higher ABV stuff and the craftier stuff probably appeals more to them. It's a bit more of a harder sell in the traditional like Walker's pubs that we kind of supply in the local area. That's mostly just cask.
Yeah. So we've cracked a beer already. So this is, am I right in saying this is new?
This is new, yeah. So this is the Galaxy New England IPA. It's 5.2%. It's just got Galaxy hops in it, and a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's new. It's a new recipe. It came out on keg first. When did it come out? A couple of weeks ago. It's gone down really well. The first keg that they opened at Law of the Land in London sold out in 4 hours.
Oh wow.
So it's gone down a bit of a storm. There's plans to put it into 440ml cans, hopefully, which will hopefully be available mid-March. And yeah, it's kind of the start of our less core, more craftier range. We've also done a blackberry and cherry sour as well. So those are kind of the first two, and then there's a couple of other ones that we're doing. I'm brewing a dry hop pilsner next week for which will just be exclusively available at Law of the Land.
Oh, nice.
In London. And also, so we've just bought, well, Guy has just bought, I haven't, an airfield called Compton Abbas Airfield that's just basically neighbouring to the estate and the brewery, where there's like a restaurant and a bar and stuff. And so that will become our kind of tap room outlet. So it will be exclusive to Law of the Land in London and also the Compton Abbas Airfield, local to us.
That's really fun. This is beautiful, by the way.
Thanks.
I'm really pleased with it.
Hops. Yeah,
I just love Galaxy hops in general.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, yeah. When you said yes, Galaxy hops exclusively Galaxy hops, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to kind of pour yours into bottles from a keg because it's only available in keg. So I'm glad it survived the journey. But yeah, it's 20% oats, 100% Galaxy, and then there's some lactose in there because it's an IPA kind of has to be. Plenty of dextrin, and I think it's lager malt as the base. So yeah, it's super tasty. We're doing another bigger brew of it in a couple of weeks' time. So it's gone down really well so far.
The body is so silky. It's beautiful.
It's got that juiciness as well. I just like this is exactly like the type of, I mean, everyone goes like West Coast is the best coast, but for me, I'm a New England person. So to me, like, this is what I want when I want my IPAs and my pale ales. Like, this is what
I'm not a huge West Coast fan. I find them sometimes a bit too bitter and like astringent.
It's the bitterness for me. I know like some people really like that, but I like the more juice bombs, the juicy boys. Like that's definitely more for me. So like, yeah, Galaxy. This is so nice. I've had a very long day. I've had about 4 hours sleep and a lot of stuff happening today. So this to me is like a little glass of heaven. And you sent us a glass as well. Thank you so much. I just literally, that artwork.
Yeah, they are good.
That artwork though, if you're looking at the video. If you're not looking at the video, you're missing out on some gorgeous artwork. I don't really.
We do have some great artwork, and the new craftier stuff is. I've shown you guys a sneak peek of some of the artwork that's coming out. Is amazing.
It's like absolutely stunning. But I didn't know. Now I'm gonna have to note down like Law of the Land for the next time I'm in London, because that just sounds amazing.
So the food is fantastic. It's quite a gastro pub, and it's busy midweek because it's obviously where all the people work in the city. But the food is, I mean, the beers are great, but the food is fantastic. So it's all cooked over like open fires and stuff. So it's quite meat heavy, but it's really, really tasty and really experimental and delicious.
It's on my list now, places to visit the next time I'm in London to get dinner for sure. And I didn't realise that like it was you guys sort of like Wiltshire, Dorset area, because like I wouldn't say it's like a massive trek for me. I mean, I'm Berkshire, so like Wiltshire's kind of, I work in Bristol, so I kind of have to kind of head in that direction from here. Like, so to me,
so I live in Bournemouth. It's about a 45-minute drive north from Bournemouth every day, so it's not too bad. It's kind of on the limit of how far you want to commute, really. But I wanted to live by the sea and not in the middle of nowhere.
I don't blame you, but at the same time, like that sounds like, I feel like that could be like a nice little weekend trip away.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not open to the public. I wish we were, but now you know me, so it's fine. Send me an email and we can come around. But yeah, we do have people come up to the gate and go, "Are you open? Can we come and have a look around?" Unfortunately, we're not. We're on private land, where this is like Guy's house is at the other end of the estate, so it is not open for business, but the Compton Abbas Airfield will be open, I think their fingers crossed is the start of March. So that'll be where you can go and get all of our beer. And it's literally just down the road. So
amazing.
The views are amazing from there as well. Not that they're amazing from the brewery, they absolutely are.
Well, so I looked at the website and like the visuals that were there for like the estate, it felt like it was unreal. Like it just didn't. I was like, are these just stock photos or like stock footage? And I was just like, this just looks amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Like driving down the driveway every day to come into work, you're like, got to kind of pinch yourself and be like, is this like really where I work?
Do you tell me there's a lake in the middle? Like
so there's 2 lakes, and then so they do shoots on it. Predominantly it's a shooting estate. But we also grow our own Maris Otter barley, so that's quite cool.
That's cool.
And all the water that we use to brew with comes from a borehole on the estate as well. So we have all our own water, which we don't treat apart from acidifying it slightly. Everything else is just as it comes out of the ground, and obviously sterile filtered so we can drink it. But yeah, so it's really cool to kind of have those things kind of at your fingertips, I guess, and inspiration for like flavors and stuff from different things.
That's so cool. So you've got a background in chemistry.
Yes.
How did you make the leap from using that into brewing, and what got you into brewing?
So I did a undergraduate master's degree at Warwick in chemistry, and didn't really have a plan of what I wanted to do after I graduated. I kind of just knew I wanted to do chemistry because I like playing with Bunsen burners. And then I got to Warwick and was bitterly disappointed that for 4 years you don't get to touch a Bunsen burner. Just heat plates. You're not allowed open flames in a lab. So that was disappointing.
This is not as advertised.
Exactly. I was melting pens in chemistry class, and then I couldn't even do that. Was there for 4 years, and didn't really have a plan of what I wanted to do afterwards. I think I was in third year, and my partner at the time, it's actually a really weird cyclical story. So his parents lived up in Edinburgh, and we went up for New Year's for Hogmanay, and we were sat in the Hanging Bat bar in Edinburgh, just drinking some beers. At the time, I mean, I liked beer, but I wasn't like particularly a craft beer nerd. We just happened to be in there drinking some beer, and he kind of jokingly suggested that I make beer for a living after I graduated, and then I've kind of run with it.
I love that origin story. That's a really brilliant origin story.
That's like, what? That seems like a great like combination of chemistry and like, a physical job and problem solving and beer. And I was like, yeah, that seems good. So finished my chemistry degree, went traveling for 6 months afterwards, and actually didn't go to, I think I went to one brewery in LA, but yeah, didn't kind of seek out going to breweries or tap rooms or anything, which is obviously what I do now. Every time I go on holiday, the first thing you do is go, right, brewery in so and so. So yeah, it's, I went to the Azores like last year, and I found a brewery on one island, and like went and knocked on the door and wandered in and like spoke to the guy that was in there who hardly spoke English and like was nosing around his brew kit. So yes, I do that now, but at the time didn't go to a single tap room particularly, or like, because I knew I wanted to work in beer, so I was kind of like, I feel like this will become a lot of my life. So kind of just went traveling oblivious to it, which was quite nice. And then came back, applied for a bunch of different jobs in the brewing industry. And yeah, my first job was at Wild Beer in Shepton Mallet in Somerset. And I was there for a year and a half. Never homebrewed, never like did any brewing beforehand. Just knew I kind of wanted to do it, and I knew that like I'd find it interesting. So applied for a job. I did a trial week, and then they offered me a job. And then within half a year, I was brewing on their kit, and the first brew of beer I ever did, like most people was like, oh yeah, I did like a 50-litre brew in my garage or whatever. The first amount I brewed was 3,000 litres, so probably not a scale that people can do in their garage. But yeah, it was a great place to like learn the trade. And I was cellar manager there for a year, or after the half year of brewing. So problem solving, putting weird things into beer, the weirder the better. So it was a good place to learn cleanliness and cross-contamination, and how to do a really good CIP, and all the things that brewers love, how to do up a tri-clamp. And then the opportunity came up to do a brewing and distilling masters up in Heriot Watt. So I left Wild Beer, moved up to Scotland, did brewing and distilling masters, and ironically got a part-time job working at the Hanging Bat in Edinburgh.
Amazing.
So then it came full circle.
That is it. So you mentioned about like obviously the cellar manager stuff. I was curious. So I saw that obviously in your bio, and I was sort of like putting the questions out there. I was like, what questions do I want to ask? And I was just kind of like, I think people can make inferences of what they think like that the role is, but like, what is the day-to-day like of a cellar manager?
Cellar managing, or just of being head brewer?
Well, both. Let's do both. Yeah.
Right. Well, when I was cellar manager, so Wild Beer was a bit bigger. We had something like, I think it was like 14 fermentation vessels, 6 conditioning tanks. We were brewing 3 times a day. So they were 3,000 litre brews in a 9,000 litre tank. So we're brewing 3 times a day into one tank. Every day there was some packaging going on of something. So it was always moving from, or like once. So basically the cellar manager does everything from after the brew day is just one day. That's all it takes to make beer is one day, or I had to make wort. Then, you know, it's the job of the yeast to take it from, you know, day 0 to when it's being packaged, essentially. So the cellar manager's job is all of those bits in between. So you're doing the monitoring of the fermentations every day. You know, you're checking the gravity and the pH, make sure the gravity's dropping, the yeast are doing their job fermenting the sugar into alcohol, so that makes the gravity drop. And produces CO2. So you'll also see the bubbles coming out the tanks. Like, so much of the weird thing that people don't tell you when you start working in a brewery is so much of working in a brewery is listening and smelling things. Like, I can walk through a brewery, through my brewery, and I can hear whether something's going wrong. I can hear whether something's going wrong from my office with the door closed.
Wow.
So like impressive. So much of it is sound. Yeah. And also if someone comes around and like goes and does a tour, or someone walks into the brewery, or a delivery guy comes into the brewery, you can smell them. If they're wearing aftershave, you can smell them before you can see them. Like, it's very odd that you like become so attuned to it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it is sight, weirdly. Obviously you don't want to trip over the hoses though.
Yeah.
No. Well, is that just because like you're making something, this is what you're expecting it's gonna like smell like and sound like and everything, and if someone comes in, that's changing like the dynamic of like what that aroma of that space is? Or is it just you more heightened?
Yeah, so you can smell like what stage in fermentation things are at, like but also like, I don't know, if you're emptying a tank of CO2 or whatever with the doors open, and, you know, then you can kind of, I mean, you shouldn't smell the CO2, but it changes the smell of the brewery. Yeah. Particularly sound is really like things overflowing, pumps making weird noises, CO2 like hissing, leaks in the tops of tanks. You can just hear a little noise. Things carbonating, bubble, like rousing things. They all kind of make different sounds. But yeah, so the cellar manager is day to day is checking the gravity of all the beers in the tanks, checking the pH of all the fermenting beers, checking the temperatures, make sure none of the temperature controls have got a bit funny or the glycol's kicking in at the wrong time, because you want to keep it at a certain temperature. So you do that first part of the fermentation, and then when it's starting to get near the end of the fermentation, you want to raise that temperature like range up that it can reach, and that will encourage the diacetyl to be turned into the alpha-acetolactate, which is less flavor active. So you want that yeast to kind of get that last bit of energy from that higher temperature, which allows them to reabsorb the diacetyl which they've kicked out of their cell, to reabsorb it back in and turn it into a less flavor active compound, so you haven't got that butter popcorn flavor. So then it kind of reaches the end of fermentation, so you can see the temperature go up again because it's allowed to, and then you can see it come back down as the gravity, you're starting to reach terminal gravity. Then the pH will start going up because the yeast will start dying, and that raises and then that makes them alkali, so the pH will go up. So then you see that, and then you're like, oh, right, now is the time to, or just before that is kind of when you want to be cropping your yeast, or knocking it off the bottom, and then then wait until you've got that a couple of constant days of gravity. Depends when or how you dry hop. There's lots of different ways of doing it. But yeah, then adding your dry hop, rousing it for a couple of days, making sure you're happy with the flavor, crash cooling it, putting in your finings, knocking that off the bottom, transferring it, centrifuging it, filtering it, however you're going to clarify it, moving it out of the tank into your conditioning tank, and then waiting and carbonating it and packaging it. So that's the kind of, there's a lot of moving parts, which I quite enjoy, and I still quite enjoy because I get to run the schedule for the brewery. So I think it's that kind of problem solving. How are you going to get this beer to the finishing point while also managing all these other beers? I'm doing this because my schedule goes across the page, so it's just
timeline.
visualizing it.
Timeline.
No. I'm a visual person, so that it makes sense to me. But I guess for anyone that's listening, you just kind of moving
across.
My hand across, which makes sense when you're watching it. So that's why you should be watching the video, actually. But yeah, no. So, like, does it get to the point that you then hand it off to someone else, or like, would you still, from a cellar manager perspective, be involved in the actual like packaging of it, if that's like the bottling, canning, whatever you're doing of it, or does that get basically handed off to somebody else?
So the brewery I'm at the moment, we all do it ourselves. There's three full-time production staff who are in the brewery every day, and then we've got a delivery driver that's in the brewery kind of 1 or 2 days a week helping out. So we do everything. At Wild Beer, there were more people in production, and we had a whole packaging team, so they had a packaging manager, whatever. So in the morning meeting, you'd hand over being like, right, this beer's ready. Then we package it, and they do checks on it before they then package it, make sure it's tasted, signed off, and tasted by multiple people in the team, and then be packaging it and checking it as through the packaging run for, you know, dissolved oxygen, CO2, carbonate, like making sure everything's correct.
Yeah, cool. So then your day to day now at Gritchie, like what does like an average, what could an average day look like?
Well, at the moment we're getting ready for a seltzer audit, so a lot of it is doing paperwork, which isn't that fun.
I'm sure that's exactly what you looked forward to. You were like, I can't wait to get into brewing to do the paperwork.
I love paperwork. I don't mind paperwork. It means it's warm in the office.
Yeah.
So day to day, let's look. So yeah, Monday is normally just like trying to work out what's going on and plan for the week. I plan a month in advance, but yeah, you end up, Monday is always kind of a firefighting day. Normally Monday we'll wash casks ready for Tuesday as our racking day. So normally we wash casks. We've got a 3-head cask washer, so that's, you get 2 people on it. You can wash about 100 casks in a day, probably a bit more if you get a wiggle on and don't stop for lunch. But yeah, so washing casks and then laying them all out to be racked. Tuesday we're racking, so kind of we take a job each basically. So one person will be brewing, one person will be washing casks. It takes one person to rack for the day, one person to keg, one person to filter. So I try and schedule about 2 tasks a day. So a lot of my job is also like managing the schedule. So making sure that we are brewing the right amount of beer, it's coming out at the right time, making sure that we have enough stock and we're holding enough stock to be able to deliver for that week. Because we do all our own deliveries and all our own, we don't have a distributor or anything. So we got 2 delivery drivers, and they go into London once or twice a week, depending on what the pub needs. So that kind of is quite a bit further afield. But it's nice that we can have that kind of face-to-face, almost customer service with people. And also people call up on a Thursday and go, oh my gosh, I've run out of beer. I don't know what to do. And we're like, okay, we'll be there in 20 minutes. Which is nice. And or we get people calling up going, the keg is doing something weird. And you're like, okay, I'll come and have a look at it for you. So we basically have to do all the jobs, the dispensing to the brewing. But yeah, so day to day, it's more making sure everyone knows what they're doing for the day, comfortable doing for what they're doing for the day. Everyone's got all the stuff that they need, and everyone's filling in the paperwork that they should be filling in. So Salsa are happy.
That's really good though. That like, if someone calls you up and goes, oh, I just, this isn't, it's not dispensing in the way it should, or something doesn't feel right or whatever, can you come and have a look? That is such a good value add as well, that it's like, they'll have a member of the team close enough by that can be like, okay, well, I'll be there and I'll check it out. And I think like that's something that when it comes to like smaller breweries and it's like, that is something that you can do. And I feel like the bigger you get, it becomes harder to do that kind of like service. And I feel like that is such a value add, and it must be like, the places you're selling to must absolutely love being able to like feel like they can call on you and get that help.
Yeah, we get people calling us asking about problems for other people's beer. Which I'm less inclined to go and help.
Yeah.
But yes, I think the nature of, it's particularly cask, I think that can be the problem. It's such a difficult, well, it's such an accessible way of dispensing beer, but also incredibly difficult to do well or right, without Googling it. Do you know what I mean? We have people calling up asking to buy a cask for their hen do or stag do or whatever. And it's fine. It's not a problem. Like, they can come pick it up from the brewery and we'll give them a stillage and a tap and we'll give them a rundown of how to do it. But, then it leaves your brewery and like, are they going to look after it? There's way more variables in that leaving the brewery than there is in a keg leaving a brewery, unless they're dispensing it with air out of a Linda or something.
Right.
But it's so difficult to I'll not control that product, but just make sure that the drinker is having the experience that you intended them to have.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be too stressed to try to be like, I'll get
You'd
a
be so
cask.
stressed.
I would be like, I
couldn't
can
do it.
like a Linda, like I can hook up a Linda. Like I have now done it a few times to the point that I could figure out setting up a Linda, like that's fine. I can figure out the, you know, CO2 problems with that. When it comes to a cask, I feel like I'd be like, this is too stressful. I can like for like a hen do, I'd be like, oh, it just, I think it has that like, for me, that like mystery around it of like, I feel like I would just massively fuck it up. I'd be like, oh, just don't do that.
It's very easy to screw up, to be fair.
That's why I feel like I'd be like, oh no, I can't be doing that. I'll just get the
All you have to do is go into someone's cellar and accidentally knock a cask that's being dispensed, and immediately all the beer's like hazy and got loads of rubbish in it.
Don't tell her that.
Oh, that's so stressful. I'm never, next time someone's like, come look at my cellar, I'll be like, no, I'll just stay out. I'll peer my head in, it's fine.
I'm just going to go back to you talking about it being a very physical job and tell a little story. So Alix and I met in the day job. We were in the Hallertau. We went to there is a hop museum there. Oh, look, she's got a jumper on.
I've got my bathhouse.
So she's got a t-shirt on. And so at the hop museum, like it goes through all the history and stuff. And then there's a bit at the end where they've got a hop pole. And of course, they have to be taken out of the ground. And you have to go up and see if you can lift this hop pole out of the ground. And the lady's like, oh, it's quite heavy. Like, you know, who wants to come up and try? And there's like all these lovely people who were with us on the boat on the tour. We love them all, but all men. And Alix.
Yeah, just me.
And Alix is like, well, I'll do it.
I was nearest to it. It wasn't like I was just pushing men out of the way.
No, it wasn't literally. Like they were very quiet, and she was like, "I'll do it. I'll do it." And so she goes up there and literally like picks up this pole and is just like whoop straight out of the ground and back down again, like it's nothing. It was brilliant. And then one of the other brewers came up and couldn't lift it, and it was brilliant.
I mean, yeah, I work out for a reason. It's all good.
Right.
I was gonna say like that to me is like it's amazing just because of how often there is that argument of like, oh well, you know, maybe it's the physicality of the job, which is why it's more. It's like no.
No, I was
we
told
can do it. We can do it.
On that same trip at Drink Tech, someone told me that there was no women there because they didn't want to be there. So that was an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Alix was going around being like, well, there's not a lot of women here. Why do you think there's no women here? And this guy was literally like, oh, they don't want to be here.
I was like, did you invite them all?
Every single one.
Do they all RSVP? No.
They all said, nah, we don't fancy it. There are men like you here.
Yeah, that's the real reason.
That is honestly, I don't even know how to.
The worst people I think I've ever spoken to.
I don't even know how to react to that. To the fact that they're not here because they don't want to be.
They didn't fancy it.
Just didn't fancy it. Yeah, just didn't fancy being there. Yeah.
They know all of this stuff already.
Yeah.
That's
it is quite a physical job. Like I think that is one of the things that possibly puts off women from applying in the industry is because, especially within production, there aren't that many women especially in management roles in production, but even in just production in general. But a lot of advertisements for production roles will specify must be able to lift 25 kilos.
Yeah,
that's like a standard thing on a lot of adverts. And I think unless you have an idea of how heavy 25 kilos is, which a lot of people, let alone a lot of women, don't have an idea of how heavy that is, then how are you going to know whether you can lift that or not?
Right. Unless you're going to the gym and specifically lifting that amount of weight.
I was going to say, it's that thing though as well of like, sometimes if you like I know I've helped move many a sofa in when we've moved house and we've done this, that, and it's like lots of lifting and lots of that type of stuff. But like in my head, yeah, exactly. If I saw 25 kilos, I'd be like, I don't know. Maybe that is like, if they're calling it out, that must be that must be something I should know about. Maybe I can't do that. So that's, I think, a very, very valid point.
You don't have to be able to lift it like over your head and bench press it, or like do a row with it. You've just got to lift it a bit. Like it's not And even if you can't lift it, there are normally other people that can lift stuff, or at least help you. Like a full cask weighs 50 kilos. That's legally you're not allowed to lift that on your own. So the people who are there throwing them up on pallets and stuff, A, it's quite dangerous and really bad for your back, and B, you don't have to lift it. Someone can help you. There can be two of you. You lift it together. It makes it a hell of a lot easier.
I do remember when we did the International Women's Day. I remember when we did the International Women's Day brew, and I was like adamant that I was like, if these dudes are going to pick these bags up on their own, I'm picking this bag up on my own. And then
that's
I remember
25 kilos. I'm assuming you're talking about a malt bag.
Yeah, malt bag.
Yeah.
25 kilos.
Yeah. But I think had I not done that experience and I saw like an ad like that, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I could do it. But then on the day, I was like adamant that I was like, if other people can do this, I can do this. I'm going to do it. And then like Rachel, like, oh, she is absolutely lovely, amazing brewer. And she
is Rachel Sutherland.
No, Rachel Green.
Rachel Green.
Okay.
Don't know if you've met her. Don't think you have.
I don't think you have. She was at Heist when we were brewing the International Women's Brew. She kind of led it all, and it was great because she was like, here's the skill, here's how you did it, and she was just kind of like teaching us of like there is a knack to doing it, and if you know that knack to how you pick that bag up in the right way, like it's so much easier to do. And like the second she because I remember trying to lift it myself and being like, oh, I can't get the right grip on it, and I don't know. And then they were like, well, you can just like take little scoops out and put it in. And I was like, no, I am lifting this bag. And then she's like, do it this way, hold it like this, put it on your shoulder like that, and like you'll
pouring a bag of malt into something that's like high up is a skill. Like it's without spilling 100%. It is tricky.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm so glad we don't have to do like because we have a mill, so I mean I've got to lift it up to kind of waist height, but and then tip the whole bag over and just open it out. Do you know what I mean? But pouring a little bit of that weight in is challenging. Like I would find that. I mean, you can't see it on the video or the podcast, but I'm 6'1", like, and I struggle to do that kind of stuff. So there's always a way around it to like make it accessible to everyone. It's just a shame that some people feel like they can't, I guess, apply for those kind of jobs.
Yeah, really true. So we've talked a little bit about the estate. Do you want to describe your brewery for us?
Our brewery is the most beautiful brewery. I think we should get some kind of plaque. 100%. It's the dream brewery to work in and own, I guess, because that's why Guy bought it and put it in his house, essentially. So it's a Gravity Systems kit. So we do a 4,000 litre brew size. We have four original fermentation vessels, which were with the original brewery, and they are 4,000 litres each. We have I think they then got two double vessels, so they're 8,000 litres each. And then they bought three, this is before my time, I've been there for 2 years now, 2 and a bit years. Then they bought three smaller 1,200 litre vessels. So that's in context, that's about 30 casks-ish. Probably get about 80 casks out of a 4,000 litre vessel and then 160 out of a 80 hec vessel. And then we've just put in, we also have a BBT, so a bright beer tank, which is, I think it's actually about 7,000 litres. I would have got a bigger one, but I inherited it, didn't get to choose it. So we've put in 2 more tanks at the end of the summer last year, and I haven't brimmed them yet, but I'd say they're probably 100 hec.
Okay.
We put over 90 and it didn't come out the CIP arm, so probably 100 hec. We were like, what's the tallest tank we can get in this space? And like, we're just going to make use of it as opposed to, not like it's just air, above. And then the unique thing, I guess, about our brewery is that all of the tanks and the brewery and the boiler are all clad in copper. Just for aesthetic purposes, not for functional purposes. It's very pretty. It's just a shame that only I get to look at it every day and the production staff.
I was just gonna say, it's like you've got like the prettiest stuff. Then someone's like,
You
"Can I
also
see the
have-
brewery?" And you're like, "No, sorry, we don't."
Yeah,
do
well,
that."
actually, that's not even the prettiest bit. So the brewery is an extension of an original farm building. So it's all local sandstone clad, basically, but they put this building in and then made it look like it's part of the original building. But the original building is like this long lodge. So think wooden floorboards, absolutely huge, insane paintings, big long tables. We've got a giant pizza oven, and then there's a whole copper-clad working bar, 4 keg lines, the 4 cask lines. That's also, I'm afraid, not open to the public. It's used for the shoots and private events for the family and the people who work on the estate.
Yeah, for Guy Richie, because he can.
Guy Richie.
Yeah. Why not?
He's a lovely guy. I mean, why wouldn't you have your own
Right.
bar in your own house? Like,
I was gonna say, like, I was gonna
Right.
say, absolutely. I was just like,
Yeah.
like you said, though, it's like you hear about how pretty it is, you're just like, oh, I just want to see it, and then you're like, oh, no,
come
I'll
visit.
never
I mean,
see it.
not everyone. This isn't an extended invite to everyone listening. This is just you guys.
I've got a question that you probably get asked a lot, and it's like, how involved is Guy in the process? Like, is he more hands off, like, do your thing, or does he like to get involved? Does he like to kind of does he like the process enough to sort of like be involved in that, or is it more just like, I trust you, implicitly?
So kind of a bit of both. I think so. I wasn't there during lockdown. I started December 2020. But I think during lockdown, because obviously all the filming stopped, all of his other stuff stopped. So I think they were up at the brewery quite a lot. I think there's videos of them on the like him and his family and his kids on the bottling line from that time. But yeah, it's, ultimately it's his business, and ultimately it is a business. It's not the problem that kind of comes. It's like a double-edged sword, basically, having Guy as the boss. Like, there are so many perks, but also there is a lot of misconceptions that I think people immediately are like, oh, it's Guy Richie's brewery. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a celebrity's brand. They put their name on a brand, but he does care about pub culture, British pub culture, and cask ale and traditional ale. And he taste tests all the beer that we make, which is obviously a very important job. And yeah, it's important to him that we make beer that he likes and that he thinks other people will like. It's an interesting kind of balance. It's unlike a lot of other craft breweries in the fact that there's one person kind of that ultimately has the veto power. Do you know what I mean? Although he obviously doesn't use it. But it's not like I don't really know how to put it. He tries all the beers. He likes all the beers that we make. It's important to him that he likes the beers, and it's important that we make good quality beers, because also his name is on it as well.
Right,
exactly.
Richie.
Yeah, that's his name.
It's weird that people don't get that connection straight away. But hey,
I was gonna say, it's like, well, I guess if you didn't know that it was his brew, like if you just kind of had heard about it through somewhere else and like didn't know it was his, you'd be like, oh, that's an interesting name. But the second you know it's his, like there's no I feel like there's no
it's kind of a
doubt
weird one,
there.
because I watch people's perception of the brewery change. So like I'll have people try the beer and then be like, oh, this is Guy Richie's beer or whatever, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's not, like, oh, I don't know, it's like they almost think it's a gimmick, like their opinion of it will go down because someone's famous is attached to it, which really isn't the case. Like everyone that works there is very passionate about what we do. It's not a gimmick. All of the equipment that he has is like top of the range, like so lovely to work there and so lovely to work with. It enables us to make consistent, good quality beer every single time, and that's ultimately what any craft brewery wants, let alone one that's owned by a celebrity.
That's a really interesting point, because I wonder if like there's some, whether it's unconscious or if it's like a subconscious type situation where they just go, oh well, I'm used to celebrities just having, like you said, putting their face on a brand, and therefore I'm kind of like subconsciously or unconsciously thinking that's what he's doing, and now all of a sudden I need to find something that I don't like about it when like 2 minutes ago they did like it. Like, that is a really interesting observation.
It almost brings in like
crazy.
tabloid opinions of a product.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
What does he think
crazy.
of the Galaxy Napa?
He's more of a so English law is his favorite, which is
Yeah.
our like, you know, core beer. It's the one that everyone's seen. It's in the opening scenes of The Gentleman with the pump clip and the, you know, that stuff. So previously that beer has only been available in cask. So only kind of at local pubs around us. At the end of last year, we did we did I think about 50 brew your own at home with the malt miller bag and box fermentable wort kits, which came directly from our brewery basically. So you just have to cut the bag open into a bucket and add yeast. A clean bucket, might I add. I take no responsibility for anyone's home brewing with that kit, apart from I made the wort.
The wort is fine. It's what you do with it afterwards.
Pristine.
Well, like 90% of brewing is cleanliness, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's like,
if you have some manky bucket in your back of your garden that you put the wort into, I am not part. This is not English law. So so we did a kit with malt miller that was English law, brew your own at home, which is the first time it's kind of been outside of being able to get it in the pub. This year we are launching English law in bottle, in 500ml bottle, which is super exciting. It'll be our first 500ml bottle, but we thought it kind of goes a bit better with the traditional ale style,
definitely,
than the smaller bottles. But yeah, it's super exciting. It's now then people will be able to order it in the online shop and get it outside of London and Dorset, Wiltshire.
I'm nearly finished the Galaxy. Should we?
I've sent you some other ones.
Yeah,
literally mine was super gone. I was like, and it's gone.
What should we try next?
Yeah, we've got the.
So the other ones you've got are so these are all our core range. Well, other than the NEPA. So all of our core range are called something law: English law, Angel's law, Moon law, Sun law, Winter law, and they're all based on the.
Lovely.
Winter law is great. That was one of my faves, but that's also my recipe. I'm biased. But yeah, so they're all so Guy's really keen on and into Loric tales and passed down of folklore and stuff. And all of the angels are also like have names, and they are actual angels in the Bible, I think. So all of our core ones have beautiful angel designs on them. So Angel's Law is our Helles lager. It's 4.2%. It's SARS and Hallertau Hersbrucker. And then the other one that you've got is Moon Law, which is our New World Pale Ale. It's a bit more like a kind of, I guess, more of a take, like more leaning towards an IPA. It's got like New World hops in it, so it's Vic Secret, Chinook, Centennial, and Amarillo. It's a bit more bitter, I think. So we did a blind tasting the other day, and like put a blindfold on and taste it. Dear God, that is difficult.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I think we did 6 different beers, and I think all of us got 4 out of 6.
Oh, that's quite good.
That is good.
Well, I tried to screw over our head of operations, but because I chose what order he tasted them in, and I gave him the stout first. So he tried this, and he also had a cold. So he tried the stout and went, yeah, this is Winter Law. Put it down, swap it for another one. And next one I chose was the lager.
Oh.
And he drinks it and goes, no, that's Winter Law.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, your reputation in beer. So that was quite funny. But everyone else kind of confused our lager for some of the hoppier ones. It's got quite a citrusy kind of zing to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super clean and fresh. So I mean, try whichever one takes your fancy.
Say, with that in mind, should we do the
lager?
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna put it in a clean glass.
Again, I'm just gonna, on the video, if you watch the video, the artwork is just, I love it. I think it's
It's
really,
got a nice
really
artwork.
pretty. And even like the bottle top is just really, really,
That's our tetramorph. So it's the little kind of creature with winged creature with a barrel.
It's like there's attention to detail everywhere. We were saying, I don't think we were recording at the time, but like the way that it was like packaged, even it like how it came to us even felt like that was like a presentation in itself. It was so
we've got like
lovely packaged.
Like paper tape that's all biodegradable and cardboard biodegradable, and it's all like packaged really beautifully. Our gift boxes at Christmas go down really well. So I think that this Christmas we did some limited release bar blades. I think
I saw the
bar
runner.
Bar blade, but we've got beautiful bar runner.
Bar runner with all the angels on it.
I've got one. Give me a second because I literally have one.
It's got that really like lovely crackery dough flavour to it, and then that lemony spritz.
It is, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
There's like a little bit of dryness to it as well, which is just like,
Here is our bar runner.
That is the most beautiful bar runner I have ever seen.
So it's got all the angels on it.
All the angels on it.
It's gorgeous.
Together.
Yeah.
Oh, it just is like it looks like a tapestry that should just be like hung up somewhere, not sat on a bar.
I think we take a lot of like, obviously Guy takes a lot of pride and whatever in the aesthetic and like how the whole thing hangs together and not even the like, I mean this is quite a dirty pint glass, but the pint glasses all have the angels on the bottom, and so we have really beautiful stuff, point of sale stuff that comes with it, which is quite nice.
It feels like there's attention to detail in every aspect, whether that's literally the packaging of it or, putting together all the angels that are like featured on the bottles, like across a bar runner. Like that is so much like that. You can tell that there's a lot of cohesion there between everything and like the attention to details there. And it's just like visually very pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's important to us when we do our craftier range to have that also hark back to not being a comedic term, hark back to the angels. That was terrible.
It worked so well though. I love how you said it and you're like,
no.
I've said it now.
Oh no.
Gotta take it back now.
What do you think of the lager?
It's beautiful.
Really nice. I was just saying there's like we were saying back to us, like there's this like nice like dryness to it as well. That it's just for me. It's just and then that like pop of like the lemon. It's just
definitely
citrusy pop.
I think it's not a lot of our beers. We don't aim to like for them to be insanely experimental or out there. It's just a case of like consistent, good quality like beers that make you want to drink more of them.
I think it's that, and it makes me want to like have a nice snack with it. Like I want a nice like salty like snack to go with it. It feels like it would go really well with like, I don't know, some like lightly salted nuts or something. I feel like I want to sit outside somewhere in nice weather, drinking this and having some like
proper pub snacks.
Yeah.
It's feeding into that whole pub culture thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So last year we did a bunch of events with so we have a converted Bedford horse box that is like a bar and it has a copper, like it literally is identical replica essentially of the bar that we have at the brewery, all copper clad. It's stunning. If you want to see pictures of it, I think there's some on the Instagram, and probably pictures of the bar as well, I think. But with that went to a bunch of events last year, and it's that attention to detail, like you kind of coming into like pulling up at a place and you'll just like fold it down and then there's a bar there and it's got that bar feel. And we did printed plastic cups that had all the angels going around them, and nice. It was like, a deposit for a cup, but a lot of people then took up home rather than giving back to us.
Yeah,
I would 100%. Yeah. I'd be like, that is a deposit well spent.
Yeah,
keeping that cup.
How does it feel working in a brewery where like it's got that level of attention to detail and you get to be like a part of that?
I think it makes you want to like strive to make it good. Do you know what I mean? Like it makes you not cut corners or just be like, oh, it'll be fine. You have to get things to match, because someone else has put that much time and effort into it,
Right.
then it's important that you also put that much time and effort into it. And yeah, I can't describe to you what it feels like when you're in a pub and someone's drinking your beer, or you're watching someone drink your beer as a brewer, or as someone who's even especially someone who's written the recipe, brewed the beer, packaged the beer, and then someone's drinking it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's like a little happy, warm, it's I don't know.
I think that's
really
like
sad, but
No.
When we've like brewed, when we brewed one that was our peanut butter and jelly porter, Joe like helped develop like basically used her like porter recipe, and obviously like we went and we like did that brew, and it was like seeing it felt so stupid in some ways, because I think about how like someone like yourself, like this is your job day in and day out, like you must be like, oh yeah, like obviously it's different based on what you're saying now, but like in my brain I'm like, you must go like, oh, you get used to it, you see your beer out there all the time, whatever. We saw it on one tap and we were like, oh my god, that's ours, we did that. And it was just like, oh, and then you'd see people like checking it in and saying like something nice about it, and you're like, someone's saying something nice, and it's just like in my brain I'd be like, oh, you must think that's so stupid because you are so used to doing it. But then obviously hearing your perspective, being like, it's nice that it's still for you, sounds like it's just as exciting.
I think it's because I think if you have a tap room or whatever, and you're there brewing and people are drinking your beer and it's like part of the brewery, I think that novelty would wear off. But because the brewery is a private, like it's not open to the public, it's private, it's I also don't live around the brewery. We're in a couple of bars in Bournemouth, but like I also don't really go out that much because I spend most of my time rowing or working out. Yeah, I think it's because we're so away from people drinking it. I think I still get that like sparkle of like, I get it less of like, seeing it on a tap handle or whatever, because the sales guy will send out and send photos and we'll post them on Instagram of other people's tap handles and stuff like that. And we have the taps and stuff at the bar and we can pour our own. But I think it's just, especially when I go to London and to Law of the Land or whatever, and you're just sat in there, no one knows who you are, and you're just sat there. I was in there a couple of months ago, sat there reading a book. I had some food. The bar staff were obviously lovely and looked after me, brought me some whatever, and it was all good. But you're just sat there and you're like, no one knows who I am, but I made that. Like that thing you're holding in your hand. Like, and it's so cool to have like a product at the end of what you've done. Do you know what I mean? Not just something that's imaginary. It's like it's there. You can taste it, smell it, feel it. It's there.
That's cool.
Is there any part of you that like just wants to be like sat at the bar and then be like, so what do you think about that? Do you enjoy that bit? Really casual. You're like, this is really good, isn't it?
It's odd. You like the bit? Part of me does kind of want to do that. Yeah. I don't know if this could be included, but yeah, there's because of who, like, my job sounds like a catfish. So I don't know if this can be.
She's really funny when she tells people. It's really funny.
I was gonna say, like, I can imagine
it's
it
like,
probably
okay, so
does.
I'm like, it says like head brewer at brewery, because I'm like, I've established, if you Google, because my name's spelt with an I, if you Google my name, Alix, brewery or brewer, beer, I come up. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why more men don't Google people, but cool. They're like, oh, what brewery do you work at? And or like, how what, you make beer for a living, and then they always have these questions. I kind of like skirt around it, or whatever. Or you'll meet someone in the bar for the first time, or you'll meet up for the first time, be like, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, well, it sounds like a made up job. You're like, oh yeah, no, I'm the head brewer for Guy Richie's brewery, and you're like
yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, cool.
Or like, it must be the like, I'm at this brewery, and they're like, what brewery is it? And you're like, oh, I don't know if you know, Guy Richie's brewery. And they're probably like, what?
Yeah. And they're like, what? The Guy Richie?
Like,
that
like,
Guy Richie.
The director.
I don't know if you've heard of him, but Guy Richie.
He's kind of a big deal.
I can imagine that probably sounds like an absolute catfish. Like, but where do you really brew? And you're like, yeah, Guy Richie.
I'm actually an accountant. Sometimes it's followed by what's your favourite Guy Ritchie film? And weirdly, I've not really seen any.
Yeah, but I
that's
almost think
fair.
that I was gonna say
I
I
think
almost think
that's
that's
fair.
maybe like kind of even better in that sense, because
Yeah.
like you have like there's smaller
just a dude.
bias.
Yeah, you just
exactly.
he's
There's
just
a
the boss.
smaller
Like, you're
there's
just like,
a
yeah, he's just the
smaller
dude that owns the brewery.
bias there, yeah, and
Pays the
like
bills.
yeah, I think that probably helps.
Also, it's kind of weird once you have the job to go back and watch the back catalogue of
Right,
your boss's
yeah, no,
films.
that feels-
It's
yeah,
a
that
bit
feels weird.
obsessive.
Yeah, that feels weird.
Just like, yeah, I was gonna say, I can see like going back and be like, so
What if I'm really into them and then I
watch that
can't
film now?
talk
And
to
then
him
you can't
anymore?
talk to him. Oh, you've got like loads of questions. You're like, I can't ask him these questions about his work. Like, I can't do it.
Just have to pepper it in when you're doing like bits of the job. You're like, so about
Like,
that
so
one, I've got a question.
here's the new beer, but can you answer all these questions about Snatch? Thanks.
Yeah, that is that's like, do you like when you tell people about that, do they immediately, because obviously I asked a question about like how involved is he, because I thought that's probably like an obvious question that a lot of people are going to have. Is that kind of the first thing, like when they know you work there?
The first thing
Do they
is
ask all
always
about
what's he
that?
like.
Yeah, what's he like?
It's always what's he like every single time. What's Guy Ritchie like?
It's just a dude.
Which is a really weird question to ask about a person. How do you answer that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
He's
alright.
fine. He's just a bloke.
He's
Right.
great.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
No,
a
that
nice
is
guy. He's around. A lot of the time he's away. He spends time with
busy.
his family.
Yeah. He's got
He's
things to do.
busy.
Oh,
He's busy man.
I know 100%. How, just to switch it to like, sorry, this is like a sharp turn from the Guy Richie chat. But so obviously I watched like the panel that you and Joe were on for the festival. How
I feel like
what,
I blacked out for that.
no, it was
reading my notes.
really good. What was really great was like I happened to, because they had put it on Facebook Live, they did Facebook Live with it, and I was like, I want to make sure I watch Joe's, and I wanted to make sure I watched like Emma from Miracles, and Pip was on, and I was like, oh, I want to make sure I watch all these like people, these amazing, just inspiring people, and but I also didn't realize that they were doing it on live. I happened to catch it by mistake when I was like looking to see timings of things to see if it was going to be somewhere. I just happened to catch it at the right time when they were starting a panel, and I was on calls that day, and I happened to catch that panel like with you and Joe, and it was really, really good. And like, what was it like going going to that festival and being on a panel?
I loved it. It was so wholesome. It was so
Really good.
nice. Like, so I haven't been back up to Edinburgh in a while either. So it was nice to go back up because I was there for 2 years. So I got to catch up with friends and like see people I haven't seen in a really long time. So it was nice to like kind of see that. And then there was a bunch of takeovers. So like we caught up with people beforehand and like had pizza and drunk beer and chatted about beer, and like that's the thing. When I was traveling and I didn't go to all these tap rooms, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because now all of my free time is beer and all of my work time is beer.
Yeah.
And all you talk about is beer, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it now. I've done my time of not talking about beer. But yeah, it was so nice to kind of meet people. Like, I've not met a lot of those women before, and it was really nice to kind of share knowledge and share ideas and just get to know people in the industry that way. Like, it was a really nice environment to kind of learn about what people are doing and what people are working on, and no one was trying to like catch anyone out, regardless of me like not remembering anything I said because I just got really nervous. But like, I think I said something about what are people going to brew next year, and I just said lager or whatever's the cheapest, and I still stand by that.
I don't think you've been proven wrong though, because I think the thing is, like, everyone that's coming out with what they predict the trends are going to be, it's like
everything we said is
like
what everyone else is now saying. We're like, that's what we said.
We are oracles.
You're welcome.
We are.
But yeah, no,
I think it's a really nice. Yeah, it was a really nice environment to get to know people in, and like I was pouring some of my beers as well, which was really nice, because unless you are around here or in the pub in London, it's like it's not really out there kind of thing. So it was nice. Joe got to try some of my beers,
I was
and
so
a lot of people got to
excited.
try some of the beers for the first time. Exactly. Everyone
was
gave
good.
them all really good ratings on Untappd, so which isn't the be all and end all, but I kind of
Yeah.
sometimes like looking through them and being like, oh, I
Right.
wonder what people have said.
It's
Yeah.
nice though
Although
when you
a
like
lot
get
of the
to
time
see
it maybe
that.
isn't the most helpful feedback.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really nice to meet people and like network and see people's faces and like put names to faces, and yeah, it was good. I'd like to do more events like that. I promise I'll actually speak coherently.
You were very
did.
you were very coherent. I like that, like in your mind you're like, next time we'll be more coherent. You just blacked out, but actually you did a really good job.
Oh,
you might have
thank you
you might
very
have felt
much.
like you disassociated at the moment, but actually you it was really good, and it was just like really. And I think like even going back to kind of what you said at the beginning about how you're like, I never homebrewed. I just like, it was suggested that I could use chemistry for brewing, and I was like, yeah, cool. I think the thing is like, that's really inspiring that like somebody can just have like be studying something that links in with the beer world in some form, whether that's, you know, the brewing side of things or the marketing side of things. And I do think like a lot of times, you know, younger people aren't told that this is kind of an option of something you can do. Like you might just like to drink beer, but you don't actually think about how it could be a career. And I think it's really inspiring, the fact that you could go for something like, you could be studying chemistry and then be like, actually, I think I want to like,
Some
I want to
random
use
guy
this.
could be like, hey, it's a good idea to make beer.
yeah, but the
like,
fact
who
that
knows
you've gone,
chemistry leads to brewing,
Yeah, like-
leads to beer. Like who puts those two things together and goes, oh yeah, that's the same thing.
but it's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
element of like,
I mean,
you've done it. Like you've shown that you didn't have to be there avidly home brewing to sort of be like, oh cool, this is the only way that I can step into that, is to do this. Because not everybody, for example, has the space and the budget and the ability to be able to like do that. So some people might go, because I can't do that and I can't home brew, like, well, there's no, you know, I'm never going to be able to brew. So it's like, it's
point. Yeah, I think it's important to, there's a lot of knowledge behind it, and just trial and error, like the actual physicality of like working in a commercial brewery versus doing homebrew is like polar opposites apart. Just because you can brew a good beer in a bucket does not mean that you can brew a good beer when there are pumps and CO2 and tanks and whatever involved. Like, you do need that hands-on experience. I am not denying that I was absolutely lucky in getting that job at Wild Beer at the time that I did, and all of that stuff. Like it is a really, really difficult industry to get into. I think I've seen a lot of people recently wanting to get into it from like bar work and hospitality work, which is definitely doable. But the grounding I think you need is ultimately, unfortunately, in science and that kind of problem solving aspect of it, which is tricky. Like STEM subjects, especially for women, is like not hugely openly accessible. And you're not really told that it's even particularly an option unless you really like putting pens on Bunsen burners. So I think it is a tricky one, but there's so many books out there and there are so many like videos and whatever. I definitely, when I first started applying for jobs, like Googled, how do you brew? Like, to that basic level. Like I was like writing down, right, this is what the brew day, you do the milling and then the mashing and then the boiling and then the fermentation and then the packaging, and I'm sat there with my notes, like literally talking to people on Zooms or whatever, interviewing brewing jobs, and I knew nothing. Like now looking back at it, like I was so not prepared. But yeah, I think it's important to have, homebrewing kind of demonstrates that passion, but there are other ways of demonstrating that. 100%.
So this one's Moon Law, which is the New World Pale Ale that you said.
Ooh, it is beautifully clear. Look at that.
It's so caramelly.
Yeah.
I like the head up retention on this bad boy.
They all have pretty good head retention now. We've had some like issues with some head retention, but I feel like we've kind of cracked it in the last couple of batches.
This is beautiful. Look at
that. I had to. I was at work, so I was at a work thing yesterday, and we have a tap line in our office, and unfortunately, I'm not even gonna. It's not the brewery that you might immediately think it is, but I'm not going to say what brewery it is because it's not one that I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this. But it's just what they got in the office, and I was trying to pour like a little bit of one, and I was like, oh, there is zero head retention on this, and I was doing everything. I felt like I was in A&E trying to resuscitate this bit. Like I was like, what can I do to get this? And I was like trying every trick I knew, and I eventually got like that, like a tiny thin layer, and I was like, I'll take it, because like nobody else seemed to be able to get any head retention on theirs, and I was like operated on this thing. I was like, don't die on me. I feel
like you are like the beer dispense like,
whisperer in that scenario. Yeah. Like I'm like, I will find a way to make that work. And I did, and I was like trying to explain it to someone else, and they couldn't do it. I was like, it's fine, it's not you. I was like, don't worry about it.
It's not you, it's
not you.
The aroma of this is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit more of a, I think it was more of a foray into crafty before my time in the original core beer recipe days. But yeah, it's one that we do this in cask, keg, and bottle, so it goes down pretty well. Good mix of hops. But I love Vic's Secret.
The Vic's Secret, there's that little bit of caramel in it. It is beautiful. Thank you
so
much for sending it.
That little caramelly bit is what I'm picking up like the most, and it's just it's really nice.
They said the carrot, and I was like, I really hope you don't think it tastes of carrot.
No. Caramel. Yes.
No, and I feel like there's
that beautiful carrot aroma.
Beautiful carrot. There's a lovely like that like bit of like bitterness that's in it as well. It's like this lovely like balance in there, and I feel like that level of bitter is what really pairs well with like a lot of food as well. So I can understand how like if you're at the pub and you're having a meal, like this would be something that would work like really well with a roast dinner or like whatever your pub meal is. I feel like that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of bitterness either, and a lot of our beers actually are very not bitter. I think that's one kind of a resounding theme throughout them, is they're all very palatably bitter.
Yes.
And I think women in particular are more sensitive to bitterness than men, which is typically why a lot of the hoppier beers do not appeal to them. But I think a lot of our range, I think the most bitter the one we do is like 40 IBUs, which is really not very bitter. They're definitely all very accessible but balanced. I think that's the key.
That's it. It's like I'm the same. Like I'm not a massive bitter person, and so like for me, this level is really like manageable. It's like you can taste it enough that like it's there, but it's like you say, it's balanced and it's not overwhelming, and it would pair really well with food. And it's like it's not something that I'm like, oh, it's too bitter for me. I'm not a fan. Like it is the perfect level for me.
Yeah. All right, we have kept you. So is there anything you would like to plug before we go? We'll stick all the
plug. Well, you can order our beer through our online shop.
We'll put that in the show notes.
At gritchiebrew.com. And obviously go look at beautiful pictures of our beautiful brewery and beautiful estate, because you guys have plugged that for me.
And they can go buy that bar runner
if you're in the local area. If you're in the local area and you're not Tori and Joe, then you can try our beers. Then you can try our beers at Compton Abbas Airfield. Hopefully, the plan is that it will reopen at the start of March, and you can watch cool planes fly around. So that's always good. And local pubs around. If you phone the brewery, I'm sure we can tell you where near us we have our beer. That's not a problem. If you're a pub that would like to stock our beer, then give us a call. We'll see what we can do. We've just done some new stuff into plastic kegs, so we can ship one way to people.
Nice.
So if you're interested in getting some of our stuff in, then give us a phone call, and I'm sure we can arrange something. The new crafty range will be the big launch for this year, I think. So look out for the beautiful designs, and 440ml cans. That'll be the next thing. 440ml cans, craftier stuff, the New England IPA, the sour. Those are the first ones, and then there's so many ideas of things that I've got in my notebook.
Yeah,
You're absolutely not going to want to miss that New England IPA either.
yeah,
Like that is beautiful. And now you've said the sour, I'm like, okay, now I need to wait for that.
Also,
We're gonna have to go and
they
buy
have
some of that.
T-shirts, so we're gonna have to buy merch as well.
We're gonna have to buy
thing.
merch.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
we have got some good t-shirts and aprons and like
The
all
apron
manner
was
of things.
really cool. Go just basically we're gonna we're gonna go link the website, go check out the website, look at all the amazing merch. I'm a merch fiend, Joe's a merch fiend, like everyone go and look at the merch. It's top tier stuff.
Yeah. It has been lovely to have you, my dear. Open invitation. You're welcome back anytime that you like, of course. But thank you for coming.
Yeah, and thank you for chatting to us
Thank
for
you
so
so
long.
much for having me.
You're welcome.
I really want to go to the brewery. And it's like the worst part
amazing,
is
right?
this is like it's like you can't go because it's not open, but I want to go.
You can't go. It's that thing that you want to do, but that you can't do.
It sounds beautiful, but now I want to go even more because I'm told no, because I can't. Because I can't. No, I really want to go. But I really actually genuinely want to check out that Law of the Land
We need to
pub.
go to Law of the Land
That
and
sounds
have
really
Rita
cool.
Aurora's favourite roast.
Yeah, I controversial opinion, and I think I've said it to you before. I don't love roast. I think it's fine. I think it's just like I'm not shit. Like, look, I'm not shitting on roast.
No.
I just think it's fine. Like, would I? If you gave me the option, I could have like a really nice like smoked barbecue dinner, or I could have roast. Like, I'm gonna go with the smoked barbecue.
I feel like this is like this is our personalities and who we are, right? Like,
it's true.
I'll have the roast, you'll have the barbecue. Like,
but it sounded like
it's
this
how
menu.
We've been brought up.
It sounds like this menu is like something that I feel like is gonna have really good meat.
Oh yeah,
and it's not just about that like typical roast. Like, it's gonna be. Oh, it just sounds next level, and I think that we should book in your birthday.
My birthday.
Yes, I love that we both had the same thoughts. I was like, I started to say we need to book in for something special, and I was thinking, oh, we're both gonna be in.
Let's do it. Right, done. For
my
birthday, we're going to Law of the Land.
And that's good because I said I'd probably take Rick. So like, it's all right. He can experience as well. Yeah. This is the reason why Gordon has to go. Yeah. This is exciting. And I do actually want to like, when they open up that tap room as such down the road from the brewery, like
estate.
Yeah. From the estate that looks stunning. It's like fucking, literally all these angels and everything. It's like Garden of Eden on those photo shoots. Like when they open up that tap room, like I would genuinely like to kind of do an overnight trip and go, because it just sounds really stunning. Like the interesting planes flying. I love, like, as a kid, one of my fondest memories as a kid was going down to Cape Cod with I'd stay over like the week or something with my grandparents down. It's like Cape Cod is, like, for anyone that doesn't know, if you're from the US you might know, but anywhere else, it's like a beach, like it's like summertime, like where you go in the summer and stay, and people have like beach houses or near to the beach houses, and there's a very small airport, and we used to get like KFC and we'd watch the planes land and take off.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's like one of my, and now I work like literally right next to an airport, so I can see when there's air shows and planes doing barrel rolls and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It's really cool. People do like private jet spotting and stuff where I work, but like it's just that's a fond memory for me. So that kind of stuff has a special place in my heart. So the idea of sitting there at this like lovely little tap room, having really delicious Galaxy New England IPAs,
these beers
watching planes go,
Alix makes good beer.
She really does. That was like very me. That
I drank it and I was like, oh, this is a bit of Tory.
It is very much, and I love it. So I really want to try that sour now. That's it.
We didn't get a Winter Law, which is the stout, which I had.
I saw it on the website. It sounded really nice. But now that I know there's going to be a sour, I'm going to have to definitely put it in.
And there was a special edition sour that had been in barrel for a while, and that was good too.
I like that.
Yeah. It was good. It was really good stuff.
We'll link to all of it.
Yeah.
I hadn't even to be fair, I hadn't even heard of it until you were kind of talking about it, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't think I've really heard of them before. And then that's when you said, and I went, oh, that's interesting. That's a bit interesting.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I watched the panel that had Alix on it, and it was really cool to get to talk to her, because someone I know of but hadn't ever met or spoken to, and the presentation, the panel was so good, and I was really looking forward to actually getting a chance to talk to her. So
Yeah,
it was
she's one of my faves. I like
really good
Alix.
convo. So yeah, I want to go finish the rest of this beer
let's
now and go
finish
to
these beers.
bed.
We got 2 of the Galaxies. I'm gonna crack the second one.
I'm going to save mine for tomorrow when I'm slightly more rested. So
Yes.
when my energy levels are slightly higher.
Tori, if people want to ask you about airplanes, where can they get hold of you?
I don't really know. Okay, I've got a fear of flying. I have massive fear of flying. So I really can't talk to you about planes, but I can talk to you about plane spotting.
Yeah,
kind of, but not really, because I also don't really do that. I can talk to you about Cape Cod though.
there you go.
I can tell you all about Cape Cod. So you can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism, or on Gmail at adventuresinoptimism@gmail.com. Obviously, equally, you can try reaching both of us on Instagram at a woman's brew on Instagram, or a woman's brew podcast on Gmail. And Joe, if people want to talk to you about, I don't know, what do you want people to talk to you about? Winter lore?
You can talk to me about anything. Talk to me about beer styles. Talk to me about these beers. I mean, you can Alix is probably a better person to ask about the science of beer, but I've got a little bit of that. I was nodding away as she was saying about it. You can come talk to me at my beer school, which is Love Beer Learning, and we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Pinterest. There's also a website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk, or you can email me at lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. We're all the places. And don't forget that we are also on YouTube if you want to go see these beautiful labels, because they are, and that bar runner, which is absolutely gorge. Go check out the YouTube
It's
video.
stunning. It is genuinely stunning.
We
And
are a
obviously
Women's
we'll
Brew
link to the
podcast.
website. We'll link to the website. You can go and check
buy
out the
it.
merch, and definitely look at the merch.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I'm going to go finish
on
this
that
beer
note,
and put myself to bed.
cheers.